Happy Thursday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar, available in both original and variety. 12 packs, a great pack size for entertaining and hanging out with your friends. Matt Iwanyk with you here on the Hangout. Yet again, joining us today, we've got Joaquin Gage of Two Guys and a Goalie and co-host of the morning show from this week, and Dash in the Park from Heavy Hockey Network and Oilers Live, which you catch actually right here on Edmonton Sports Talk Wednesdays at 5 for Oilers Live. Fantasy Hockey's Hacks is at 9 on Wednesdays. How was the show yesterday?
Yeah, it was good. It was a little spicy, but most are these days. So, yeah, no complaints at all.
It was spicy, you're saying?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, you get some fan content in there. Everybody's got an opinion.
But it's not critical against the Oilers right now, or was it?
No, but just triggers, man. Triggers. People have triggers. You know, it's like Nurse's contract and Schwarz came up. So, oh boy, there the comments went. And
how do you bring those up right now? If you're
because it was Hart versus Skinner. So it's like, the two Schwartzy kids were playing against each other.
But I'm saying for criticism or something, because
gave Schwarz credit. I said, look at these two guys battling each other and these Edmonton kids. And
it's the way Stuart Skinner's playing right now, it's kind of hard to criticize the goalie coach. Like, I'm one that has been hard on Dustin Schwarz I feel people, they don't want to give him any blame, but give him all sorts of credit. And I'm like, well, it's got to be both. If he gets some credit, he deserves blame. If he deserves blame, then he gets credit. And if he gets the blame when things aren't going well, he absolutely deserves credit right now for the fact that Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard are playing well. That's the way I at least look at it. Yeah. Gager, you're the goalie.
Well, did Dave Manson get criticized the same way that Dustin Schwarz did for poor defensive play?
He probably should have, looking back.
Well, I'm just...
He would have if he was around as long as Dustin Schwarz.
I
think there's a difference. I think one of the criticisms of Dustin Schwarz has been how long he's been here, and it's easy to keep going. Dave Manson then only was here for a couple of years, and there was a little bit of criticism for the defense, but it wasn't to the level as Dustin Schwarz. But if he had been on the bench for 9 years, then the criticism, I think, would have been there.
I guess. Again, this is an opportunity for Oilers Plus to have a completely different segment and actually see what Dustin Schwarz does throughout maybe a 1 week span, because it's not goalies don't get to the NHL and then they learn there, like they've learned their whole lives. The rest is tinkering and subtle adjustments. Some need a little bit more. I can speak from experience, but no, I just think there's a lot more that goes into being the goalie coach. There's scouting, there's looking at the minors, there's putting together packages on opposing goalies and seeing their weaknesses. Where are we going to shoot? How are we going to exploit what they have?
So there's versus LA.
Yeah, exactly. Like you saw, they all did the same type of thing, right? They all have that book. So I think that would cool the jets of a lot of people calling for Dustin Schwartz's head every time a bad goal goes in. But because I don't, it's not just making goalies, because we've seen people complain all the time about how, as soon as the goalie goes somewhere else, he excels. But that's not Dustin Schwarz there. He's not ruining goaltenders by any means.
He's been trying to make chicken salad out of chicken. You know what? Tommy censored me already, so now I can't say that word, and I would have. But look at the goaltenders who outside of Dubnyk really went on and crushed it somewhere else, right? And I mean,
but the flip side is who's come here and has done well. Like who has Dubnyk was doing good, but then he lost it, and then he went somewhere else, and he was fixed by Sean Burke. It looks like.
Yeah, Mitch Gordon and Sean Burke, I think. Yeah,
I think it's part of the issue is that it's just like, I had Mikko Koskinen. What can you do with Mikko Koskinen? Then why do you have a job in the end if you can't change anything? If you can't help with anything?
It's tough to change goalies.
Sure, but I just always looked at. I was okay with some of the criticism. I don't think he's flawless. I don't think he was above criticism. Like, he's just such a great goaltending coach. There shouldn't be any criticism at all when the Oilers have all these goalie troubles of all these years that he's been here. I also don't think it's all entirely on him.
Yeah.
But it's also like, if if he's going to get blame when things aren't good, he 100% deserves credit when things are good. And right now things are good that there is no way you can blame Dustin Schwarz. Well, and apparently somebody with you guys yesterday was, but like that's where like you can't criticize him at this point. You have to give him the credit with the fact that like part of why the Oilers have won, 13 of the last 16, 14 of the last 17 or whatever it is, like 6-game winning streak, is because Stuart Skinner 17. Has been playing really well.
Yeah. And I'm not
Calvin Pickard still.
I don't like. I think there's levels of goaltending coaches that do make a difference. If by no means do I think he's the best goalie coach, but when you look at the top ones, and I put like Bill Ranford, Allaire, who else? Burke. Like those guys are up there. I think in Cal.
What do you think they do to help?
I think it's a combination
seems like they have
of
like
things.
this magical bag of tricks that they could just like fix these guys.
I think with Billy and Sean Burke, I think there's just a level of having done it before.
And not the development of head trajectory.
Yeah, they can probably, and I'm not saying there's not good communication through the other guys, but from the guys that have done it and been in the situation before, there's a lot more maybe tricks in the bag that they can draw upon to get into the mind and the mindset and convey their thoughts to the goalie in that kind of goalie speak, so to say, right? There's that level. So at the highest level being at. So I think there's an advantage there. The other thing is the style of play of the team. I think you have to incorporate with the goalie coach. What's his philosophy compared to the defensive philosophy of the team? And sometimes those don't match, right? Like Sean Burke, big goalie, use your size more in certain situations, not having to play so, be more aggressive. Allaire, I say same thing. Billy more understands the physicality of being a goaltender. Like he's had some really good athletic guys. Jonathan Quick, like one of the best athletic goalies for over the past decade, and he was able to probably communicate a lot better on that level. So, Schwartz should get some credit right now because look, the last game, although Carter Hart allowed 5, he played a pretty good game.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't really had a bad game outside of Lightning game in a while.
Yeah.
Like that was a game that you're looking at. But goalies are going to have bad games.
Yeah.
They're just all goalies are going to have bad games. You know, when Vasilevsky actually even stole the game here in Edmonton, they were say that he goalied the Oilers. He still let in 4 that game, you know? Like,
we had 92 shots.
Yeah, it's like, so you're going to have goalies where they're going to be those nights. But yeah, right now, like the goaltending situation has calmed.
When Devin Dubnyk went to Nashville, he credited Mitch Korn for getting his confidence back.
Yeah.
For rebuilding his confidence. When he went over to Arizona, that's where he credited Sean Burke for the style. And I think that's where he started adopting that head trajectory type of method where you're watching the puck and following it in a different way than traditionally was done. So that's, the one goalie that everybody seems to always lean on when they talk about, well, he got away, or Brossoit, if you will. But what did he do? He won a cup and has been a backup, right? But where did Bachman and Fast and Scrivens and Buns and like the goalies that he was given to coach in his first 6 years with the team made it nowhere? So I mean, he kind of did do the best with what he had.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Talbot's back to being good with Billy Ranford.
Exactly.
Well, and that's funny is you throw it like Billy Ranford does it with Cam Talbot right now. I think maybe I didn't even really think of that too much, but maybe that's why he's having such a solid year. Maybe that's the reason why he maybe won't falter a little bit this season. And then if you look at why now look, the Golden Knights have a great defense, but they won with Adin Hill last year in the net. And what happened? Well, Sean Burke's there.
Mm-hmm.
I was always stunned that people didn't throw more money towards Sean Burke.
They didn't win with Adin Hill. They won with 5 goalies.
Yeah, but like if they don't win that cup, if Brossoit doesn't get hurt,
I
Hill goes in and Hill was great.
I think the Oilers pick him apart.
Brossoit?
Yeah.
Oh, it was absolutely. It was like the worst thing that happened to the Oilers and best thing that happened to the Golden Knights.
Maybe that's where Dustin Schwarz faltered. He didn't have the good enough book on Adin Hill.
Or he was going up against Sean Burke. And Sean Burke is just a little bit better.
Okay.
See, this is a whole TV series.
It could be.
what goes on behind following Dustin Schwarz.
Yeah.
You could do it. Like,
Yeah, why not?
Just set cameras up in the streets of Stettler.
go on a road trip. Follow him for an entire
Tommy will
3-game
watch it.
retro.
It's like, Schwartz
There's
is
a lot of people that will
shopping.
watch it.
Schwartz is eating his breakfast.
It's Dusty. Tommy's not happy with the what he calls content creators online.
Yeah.
But the one thing, Tommy, you have to realize is we're content creators too now. So we have purpose. Okay, fair enough.
Start showing
Their purpose is money, so it works.
Maybe if you started showing your feet, Tommy, on your OnlyFans page, you'd be all right.
That's coming to the Nasty Club. Don't worry.
Okay.
Nasty Club in 2024. There's going to be the extra option where Tommy's going to be in the grocery store shopping, and Tommy's going to go clothes shopping, and we could actually, you want to know what people would watch? Tommy getting his haircut.
I know. Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
And then Tommy doing his hair in the morning and see how he does it and gets such perfection.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of people interested in that.
That thing, all that thing needs is a chin strap. It's perfect.
The internet is just
Dippity Doo's good with concussion protocol, is it?
so
Yeah.
screwed.
Oh, yeah.
It is messed up. This Oilers team, just like they're back to where they should be, really, when you look at them. Like,
I was talking about it last night on the show, right? Like, you take that, what is it, the first 14 games of this season, where they start 2-9, and then I think it was a pretty crappy record after 14. Let's call it
it was crappy.
3-11 or something like that, right? You take those 14 games out, and you take that 15-3 from the end of last year. Then you take, basically from Knobloch on, man, this team's a wagon. Like a wagon. They are absolutely dominating in every facet. And honestly, I think this stretch has been more impressive to me than it was the last 20 games of last year.
Me too.
Because last year they were just coming out and banging guys. Like it was almost no doubters. This way, like they come out and they hold that lead versus Carolina. They're coming from behind in games. They're winning in shootouts. They're winning. I said last night, Knobloch may have won me over in that LA game because I didn't want Woodcroft to lose his job. I didn't think at the time it was even the right decision. But looking back, I mean, it's hard to not now recognize, I joked about Manson earlier, but even Woody, right? Like going back to those Winnipeg playoffs when we got swept, we potentially got outcoached by Paul Maurice. And we lose to Colorado the next year. I'd arguably say we might have got outcoached again. I think we got outcoached against Vegas last year. We talk about losing the room, right? Like that's such a blanket statement. Like you can lose trust. Doesn't mean you lose the room. And if the players don't necessarily believe, I don't know. And where Knobloch won me over was after the first intermission of that LA game. Because the Oilers got it handed to them. There was...
Did they ever?
I don't know how, like absolutely destroying teams leading up to that. Everybody's, we're back. That first period, I was worried again. I'm like, oh man, here we go. If we do this in the playoffs, we're going to get run out in the playoffs. And I was already worried.
That's the big litmus
Knobloch
test
adjusted. He adjusted. They started dumping and chasing in the second period. They started playing simple hockey. They started playing, we're just going bang those defensemen, and I thought it was excellent. And they turned the momentum around. They turned the game around. And then they walk out that next game. Was it Anaheim the next game?
Yeah.
No doubter. Yeah. Like no doubter.
Yeah.
That thing was over when the puck dropped.
Anaheim had a bit of a push, but yeah, then they just dropped the hammer.
Right. And now they do this against Philly, which was a pretty good team, a well-coached team.
One of the better teams they'll face
tenacious
actually in this month.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love that take that 14 games out in the middle, and that chunk on either end it's a beautiful thing.
The one thing I still now need to see from the Oilers though right now is can they lose a game and end it at 1 or maybe 2? They haven't had everything's turned into a little bit of a streak. They've lost the last 2 losing streaks they've had, or losses they've had. It was bunches. It's 3, and then prior, we know what happened at the start of the season. Can they allow 1 loss to just stay at 1 loss, or at most maybe 2? Or are we going to see this team lose 1 and then it's going to be a streak again? They'll have lost 3 or 4 and then back to winning. It's a very streaky season right now. If you just look at wins, losses, it's
been streaky for 3 years. I think 2 years ago was I think the roller coaster season where it was chunks like this as well. But the mistakes that we were making at the beginning of the year and the mistakes that we were making previous were, giving up these odd man rushes, giving up the high danger chances. Those types of mistakes, I think, are what lend to the momentum of losing streaks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. If they can play like they did in the second and third period against LA, I think they're not going to be able to run into those 6 to 9 to 12 periods in a row where they do that anymore. What do you think, Gage?
Yeah, no, that's one of the reasons I liked the way they're playing recently. But the LA game, they stuck with it, made subtle adjustments, like you said. This way, they're not relying on just, say, the power play of last year. That got them out of so much trouble. Yep. It's their 5-on-5 play. You talk about, excuse me, how Coach Naba made some, he hasn't gone back to Connor and Leon once. It's picking spots after a power play or the penalty kill, things like that. He's not going to that crutch that we've seen multiple coaches always go to. And I love that. I think it's the reason why they have had a lot of their success. But in a dressing room, you'll always hear it. I mean, even at the minor league level, and I thought you'll hear guys say, "We don't lose 2 in a row." That's the kind of mantra you take. And I do think just the way that they're playing and what they've shown and coming back in games, that their play won't allow them to lose multiple games in a row. There could be a chance where you see them lose 2, but seeing this team lose 3 right now, the way that they're playing, the other teams have to play really, really well.
I agree.
But that's where I just go, can they lose 1 and not, will they get back to playing like the team that was winning and not just go, oh boy, when they've lost those bunches,
yeah,
it seems like they just break a little bit. And that's even while they're winning.
Hyde, right?
Yeah, that's even when they're winning. Then also you're going what's happening here? And this season's turning back the other way. And can they just, after one bad game, get back to immediately playing the good hockey as opposed to maybe sticking with the bad hockey because now they're panicking and they're holding the stick a little tighter, oh no, here we go again type thing, even though it's just 1 loss.
I think
that's the question that they still have to answer to me because they haven't done that yet this season.
Because look at that 1 loss that they played quite well in against Tampa. They got beat by Kucherov, Stamkos, and Vasilevsky. Yes. Their top dogs took over the game. And you could arguably say that the Oilers' top dogs put the Kings to bed, right? With their play. So you're gonna run in that's why I'm looking forward to the eventual matchup with Colorado, seeing their top dogs and who comes out on top because I think it's a pretty even game, right? Mm-hmm. And then you just have your stars just take it to that next level and see how long they can sustain it and if they can put the game out of reach at that point.
Yeah. What's going to be better for the Oilers? Obviously, they're not going to have this conversation in the room because you just want to go win your hockey games and finish the season best as you can. But is it to go into the Central or stay in the Pacific for playoffs? Would you rather see Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg potentially, or a combination of the Kings, Golden Knights, Canucks?
I'd rather have the Kings just for recency bias. They've done
Oilers
well.
Own them.
Yeah, they know how to win in that building. The playing in Denver is intimidating. They're they're crazy. It's the US. It's a different atmosphere when you in the playoffs too.
Does the altitude really make a difference?
It's the second and third day. Yeah, you'll start feeling it a little bit then. I mean, these guys are in ridiculous shape, but I remember just being in there. We'd play and then maybe practice the next day, and maybe it was just me going out the night before, but I've always felt a little bit bagged that second day, just you're like, God, wow, I'm really out of breath here. So, but it's an advantage for those guys for sure. But so I felt it a little bit. Not everyone does.
There's a situation at the end of the season for the Oilers. Gazzola brought it up yesterday on the Oil stream. I think the Oilers are back-to-backs at the end of the season. I'm just pulling it up to see if I can get this correctly. They're in Arizona, and the next day they're in Colorado. So that altitude change. Yeah, Arizona on the Wednesday, second last game of the season. Next day they're in Colorado. That's going to affect them.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay in the Pacific, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm with you guys completely. Also, I've said that I brought this up on the Oil stream yesterday, and I'm not scared of the Canucks in the playoffs
Nah.
because they haven't done it yet. They haven't been tested yet. And there is something to learning how to win in the playoffs. The Oilers had to go through that. And the Oilers went into the playoffs in 16, 17, and then they missed for a couple years, and then they had to relearn it again because first they go play the Blackhawks, lose. They go play the Jets, they lose. Then finally they've started to win some series and win some hockey, playoff hockey. And are the Canucks ready to do that? Are the Canucks able to do that? Now, they've got Thatcher Demko at least, which when you have that goalie, that could help you, and that gives you a little edge. But I'm not so scared to meet them once it's a best of 7 necessarily. When you're the Oilers who have won 3 playoff series in the last 2 years, and the Canucks haven't been there.
There'll be a learning curve for sure with those guys. Demko worries me a little bit. Seeing what he did in the bubble, it was... And by all accounts, he's gotten better, right? So then the Canucks are playing better. So that's... And I don't like... I said this before. When you have guys on the back end where a lot of the offense flows through, like Makar or Hughes, it just adds a completely different level of how to defend against those guys because they're jumping in the play, the switches, the communication has to be perfect at that point. And so, but then again, you have a guy in Hughes that hasn't done it yet too at that stage. So that's going to be another learning curve for him because, well, it would probably be second round maybe that they'd play the Canucks, maybe whatever. But as we saw,
it's going to be tough to get into the Pacific still for those. I think
it will be, but it's
it comes down to this month.
This
month is quite soft for the Oilers.
It is soft, and the Canucks' schedule is really hard.
But so the Oilers, they get Ottawa Saturday, Chicago Tuesday, Detroit Thursday, Montreal Saturday, then Toronto, Seattle, Calgary, Columbus, Chicago, Nashville. There's a lot of points that they could get here. Mm-hmm. If they go, I think there's how many more is left? I think 9. So I'm going to throw Philly in there. If they go 8-2 or something, that's a lot of points that they've just picked up there that I think puts them closer to the Pacific. And now you have 2.5 months to close whatever gap is there with the Kings or the Golden Knights or the Canucks to get in there. If they go, more 6-4, 5-5, I think it's still going to be tough to snag one of those top 3 because you need those teams to lose points.
I still think they're a wild card team. I think what happened at the beginning of the year has put it completely out of reach, but we'll see. I don't know.
It's too hard to gain points in the Bettman system. You just can't climb the ladder like you should be able
3
to.
3 points. Make it 3.
That's what the PWHL has gone to. They've gone to the 3-point, and it just does make sense. You award 2 points in the for a regulation game. When you get to overtime, all of a sudden you're awarding 3 points. Yeah, just combined.
Yeah. Well, I threw out the other day that I thought if it goes to overtime, still the winner gets 2 points. If it goes to the shootout, then you get the loser point.
So what would you like? You would go. How would you award it?
So
if it's somebody wins in regulation, 3 points,
I'd still go 2.
Okay, you still stick with 2.
Yeah, because everyone doesn't want to do 3 for some reason. I find it ridiculous. But in overtime, I think it's still a 2 points. 2 points for the victory. If it goes to the shootout, then there's the extra.
What if you lose in overtime?
You get nothing.
So no matter what, loss is nothing.
Loss is nothing. Yeah.
I don't mind that.
I don't hate that.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with 3 points. Like if it's 3 in the regulation win.
Oh, I love that.
I would go 2 for an OT win, 1 for the loser.
Yeah.
And then shootout, I probably would just go to 2 for the winner, none for the loser.
Oh, just reverse.
Just keep taking away some of the points. I guess if I gave you 1 to get overtime, you shouldn't lose in shootout. You shouldn't
lose in that shootout.
But that does kind of force you to try to not go to shootout.
I just think, there's been all this talk about how they're going to change 3-on-3 to make it, teams are dragging the puck, or should they have
coaches
a shot
are
clock?
Perfecting it.
Yeah.
The coaches are getting the defense into it because you give coaches time to do anything. They're not going to try to do what's most entertaining. They're going to try to do what's best for winning and what's best for winning defense.
But now, maybe not at the beginning of the year, but at the end of the year, last 3 months of the season, when teams are trying to solidify playoff positioning or getting into the playoffs, I think having that extra 2 points and nothing for the loser, you will see you'll see them loading up the possibilities of winning the draw goalies coming out going 4-on-3. I think just because they're going to need those 2 points, which I think would be great. Yeah, you would see that for sure. Come down to the stretch, because how many? Like I kind of looked, and there's a lot of tie games last 2 months of the season because everyone's at a high level, and it's ramping up, right? So you still have the 2 points. And then that first draw, you got to win that thing, and then you're pulling the goalie, going 4-on-3.
That's it's
very
that's not
lacrosse.
crazy. It's not crazy
in a sense, almost.
What we're gonna pull a goalie with 2-3 minutes left in regulation? At a face-off where we don't even have possession.
Yeah.
But you're already losing.
So if you have possession in overtime and you're wheeling the puck,
but I mean, if you're in a game where you're a point behind, and you need those 2 points, then you can leapfrog.
So what's your point system again for this? Like,
it's just 2-2-2-1. So regular season,
regulation win is 2 points. Overtime win is 2 points. A shootout win is 1 point.
Shootout win is 2 points, one to the loser.
Oh, okay, so it's 2 overall. 2 points is getting awarded, 2 points is awarded, and then 3 points is awarded.
Yeah.
So then why is there the emphasis to win in overtime and not go to shootout?
Because the other team still gets the loser point.
Okay, so then that has to be a divisional game, though, or something, for that to matter. Because, like, if the Oilers are taking on Colorado, it doesn't matter to them if Colorado gets a point. It only matters if they get the 2 points.
It might if they're down the stretch. They might be wild card implications.
But, like, for this, like, Colorado's, like, that's only going to be for the teams that you're competing with, almost in a sense.
Yeah. But either way, you might need 2 points, and taking away the points from the other team, like, it's going to be different. It's going to make you have to adjust.
See, I don't know if a coach would care what the other team's getting. They'd only care about what they're getting. They would just focus on, we need our 2 points. We need our 2 points.
Depends
so
on
if
the
they
situation.
think it's better to go to shootout to get the 2 points, they're going to want to go to shootout to get those 2 points. And hey, if you're going to pull your goalie on me, awesome, because I'm just going to shoot at that empty net.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'd just like to see it just 1 year, see how it goes.
do it in the A.
They need to do more of stuff just in the A. Baseball does it all the time with the minors. That's how we got the pitch clock.
Right.
That's how we got everything. They just do it in the minors for a little bit, and then they go, yeah, we like
Change it
this.
mid-season like the FIA does. They make the rules. As they go.
55 days, Gager. 55 days.
Can't wait.
Like the countdown is on.
Yeah.
I saw it today. Aston Martin is Feb 12th.
Yeah.
I think for their car.
With their livery or whatever. Yeah.
So it's as I told you a couple days ago. Once Mercedes unveils the car, it will be the car that Lewis Hamilton will get the 8th title in.
I hope
Calling
so.
it for this year. You know, it's going to happen.
I just want I hope it's a 4-team battle at the top. Let's just pray for that
Instead of a one-team battle.
Yeah.
I would like just Max to lose a few races, right?
Yeah.
Like he could go win the world title. That's cool. He could dominate. That's cool. He's an amazing driver. I would just like that. Maybe he doesn't win every race though.
Yeah.
Maybe even if it's Perez that wins, maybe it's his teammate. I'm okay with that.
An angry Max is good for F1, I think.
It is, and knowing that it's not over on the first lap.
Yeah.
Is also going to be good for Formula One. Yeah, there's a lot of the lower races to watch, like this year, seeing the constructors later on, you know, second, third, and all that. But people always ultimately, what did Ricky Bobby say? If you ain't first, you're last. The thing we care about most is who wins, and I would just like a little more competition for that.
Well, they did
or even
say-
if like the Red Bull car could even just crap out a couple times.
Yeah.
Especially like
it was
did
too reliable.
At like 2 years ago when they first went to
When
these.
they first went to these cars.
Red Bull had those issues early.
Yeah.
And it caused a little, oh boy, what's happening here? That's what I want to get back to that.
Really, no one had issues this year. There wasn't. No one. Everyone had that part of their car all locked down. But 2 years ago, they did mention because of the salary cap that Red Bull did go over, that they were going to have to cut back on wind tunnel time, right? That wasn't going to make too much of a difference, and obviously it didn't to this year, like last year's car. But it's this year that because with finishing first, they only get a certain amount of time, and it's lowered even more because of the cap penalty. So maybe some other teams get
Catch up a little bit.
I won't say leapfrog, but maybe close that gap.
You an F1 guy?
Not like Gager. If you are. Yeah, I follow it. Like I'll watch 4 races a year maybe or something like that. I really found Max Verstappen easy to cheer for 2 years ago, and it's funny how the popularity is just kind of whoop. Because now he's like the Gretzky in the 80s. You either love him or you absolutely despise him. And, winning does funny things to people.
Listening to him in the car, it's very easy to listen to the whining of him and go, I just want you to lose, Max. But it's great.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a video that I saw from a couple weeks ago. Those guys, just what they could do, blindfolded. They would get this little car and they would have to run it across the map and then stop it where, or they would just run their fingers on it and place where the starting line is. Mm-hmm. And without even looking, just by feel, they knew exactly where the starting line was. Max crushed 6 of them in a row. Yeah. Just would feel the track and then put this car where the grid start is. And you're just like, oh my God, you guys know this so well. And I saw Perez, he was driving with the car, but the screen was behind him.
Yeah.
And he was able to drive the car with the course, just knowing exactly how it is because it's all just memorization.
He was holding it fake wheel, but he was actually hitting the gears too, and gearing down and those guys are phenomenal, dude. They're some of the greatest athletes on the planet. Unbelievable what they can do.
Yeah. Underrated, underrespected. Right?
Yeah,
the amount of nobody thinks about the cardio. Nobody thinks about right. Go and do a wall sit.
Yeah.
with a heavy ball that's vibrating for an hour and a half and see how you feel after.
I remember Burt Reynolds told this story on Jay Leno where he was at a bar and he was getting drunk and some guy was over in the corner and making some noise and they kind of bumped into each other and so he got into it with this guy. And he remembers kind of getting into a pushing match, and the guy grabbed him. And he was just a little guy, and Bert was and I couldn't, he had such a hard grip, and he was starting to throw me around, and I couldn't do anything. And then he realized it was Michael Andretti. And he said, those guys are so strong. He pulled me in, and there was nothing I could do.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, you're in charge of this big piece of machinery with very little movement. You've got to control that all. And the G-force that you were having to deal with, it must be just something else.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked into driving?
Of course he's looked into
driving an F1 car? How much would that go for? Do you know?
The one I was I went to the higher end, and some of those things they can get up to $30,000, right?
The driving one?
No, I'm talking simulators. Full simulators.
Oh no, I'm talking driving, getting into an F1 car and experience. That's what I thought you meant. Getting into an F1 car and actually
go to Vegas and hit a track.
I
where someone drives it or something. They have those cars.
They have the tandem ones that you can go. But I'd want to go in by myself, and I don't know. I don't think I would. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they can build a bigger one for me.
See, I want a golf sim one day in my house. That's my goal. You need to go for the F1. $30,000, and you do it the high end. You absolutely. You don't go for a nice little 10,000. You can get 5,000 or something. Yeah, but you go for the high end.
Yeah,
you do it right.
You want ones that kind of shake and give you the whole vibrations and stuff like that, right? That simulate the tires wearing, and you can, everything. Everything's important. Oh yeah, mm-hmm. It does everything on it.
To slide and vibrate more, and you've got more.
And then you'll crash because you haven't, you got to pit and do all that.
How about we pool money together and we'll do a split golf F1 simulator. It's $15,000 each year.
I guarantee you Dusty's giving up his office.
We'll make it work here. One day. When we buy Shanks.
1260
and we move into Shanks. We're going to do that.
He's got the F1 simulator.
F1 golf simulator at EST at Shanks. That's what we'll do. Well, they've actually got the golf simulator area.
Well, that spot downstairs really lined up. No, it's for the simulator upstairs at EST.
Little side income for us. We could charge people to come use it until Gager wants it and then get out.
The mall, they have some simulators in there. They're pretty good, but no, the big dog is what you want.
Eric wanted at the old place, which we're going to have to do here, a Grand Prix at one of those. They have those little go-karts at the wall.
We should
do an EST Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Get some people in. And
Speeders is a fun little place to go to.
Absolutely. So there's a few places that we can,
not far from here.
Go do that. We should. We will do that.
We did a work event at Speeders. It's pretty good. It's fun.
I've never gone to the Speeders one.
Yeah, it's convenient.
So I went to 1 year in Germany. We went to was it Schumacher's brother? I forget his first name, but he had a bunch of go-karting facilities all over Germany, and went to his, and it was unbelievable. So they time you with the track, everything's censored. It was I had fastest lap on my team. I didn't win overall time. Like we didn't. We just.
You got your point.
I got my point.
I
was hitting the apex, baby.
It's just for the constructors, you did it for the team.
Yeah, I did.
You got what was important for the team. That was the year Lewis and Max were going at it, and Red Bull a couple of times to throw out Perez just to get that point.
Get the point,
to take it away from Lewis. So he couldn't get it. That's how tight that race was.
I know.
That was 2 years ago.
That was phenomenal. Hopefully it gets close to something like that.
Again, yeah.
We need it again.
But 4, you're right. Like, it'd be cool to see. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen again, based on what F1 people say. Like the long time people go, like,
I know.
You guys got in at like the greatest time for it. So we saw like the greatest season, but something a little more competitive. Like when Lewis was winning, his teammate challenged him usually. Like he lost a couple times to his teammate.
Yeah.
Bunsen was being one of those. And so that, like, just having a 2-person race
That car was
for the world championship. Just don't care if it's both Red Bull cars. Don't care if it's a Red Bull and Mercedes. Don't care if it's Red Bull, Ferrari, whatever it is. Just give me 2 cars at least, 2 drivers that are going to compete. And for 3/4 of the season, we don't know who's going to win it.
I'm fast. The one thing I'm looking forward to is the battle with McLaren with both their drivers. I think after Oscar winning Rookie of the Year, he had a phenomenal season. Like
kind of hold him back.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see and Lando's an unbelievable driver too. But I think it's going to be a little more competition between the two.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I think that torch has to be passed eventually.
Yeah. Well, there's talk of Lando going to Red Bull.
Right. Well, sure.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
In the nasty chat, Pip Wall Nasty says Danny Rick will be in Red Bull by summer break. Book it.
Oh yeah.
So, it's going to be a lot of there's pressure on Perez. He's got to show up.
He's got to do a lot better than
and so if he doesn't show up early, Red Bull's not afraid to make changes.
Is that the hottest seat in F1?
I don't know. I want to see how that McLaren does. Aston Martin's interesting too because they had such a good start. I think they abandoned at a certain point and started looking to next year's car.
Yeah.
Fernando, the one guy I'd love to party with in the F1, so I think it would be a lot of fun hanging out with him for a night. But yeah, I mean, Lance, I've said it, the weight of a country on his shoulders to do well, but I'd like to see, it would be great to have a Canadian do well. I was looking, I had fingers crossed to see Lance maybe get up there and challenge because that would, it would bring more Canadian eyes definitely to it.
I wonder what Red Bull would do if they do want to replace Perez because you throw like the Lando and stuff. Do you really want to bring someone that's going to challenge Max?
You have to.
But Max isn't going to like that.
Well, Joss isn't going to like that.
If somebody's challenging Max gets angry. Max doesn't want his teammate to have anything.
No.
And if you bring someone who's good, who's also going to, like if you bring in Lando, he's going to want to try to win. Yeah. And he's going to be capable of it.
Then Max goes to McLaren.
But then like Max is not going to be. I mean, like what are you going to do when you're in the situation where like we saw Perez could have won a race and Max wanted Perez to not win the race so he can go win the race, even though it wouldn't have mattered in the end. And it's just what's going to happen when Lando's about to win a race, but Max isn't. What's Red Bull going to do in that situation?
I can't wait to find that out.
I know, but I don't know if Christian Horner and Red Bull would do that to Max.
Do you don't think so?
I think he's got a point, Gage.
I think they're too scared to piss off Max.
Yeah,
really?
I think they're too scared to challenge Max because Max won them that world title, and he's so good. I don't think they want to mess with that family.
Well, if Max's teammate is challenging Max and capable of winning. It is the job of the principal to make some decisions, but I think he would let them race a little bit too. I think they would.
And then you know what happens when Max runs to race?
Oh,
he sends you into the wall.
Yeah, he
puts in a situation that all of a sudden Red Bull has 2 cars that they have to fix because Max is getting pissed off that they're going to let them race, and that's what happens when Max races.
Yeah, he's aggressive.
And then what are they? They're going to sit there and go, "Well, how do we deal with this?"
He did it a couple of years ago.
Oh, he does it every first corner, like essentially, like he puts the other
get
guy
out of my way or hit me away.
Yeah, I love it,
and that's fine when it's the other team's car you're dealing with too. But when you have to also deal with 2 cars that get hurt in that, like I don't think anyone comes to Red Bull and beats Max for a world championship necessarily. And Max is just that good of a driver. But let's say it's Lando. Let's say he's there, but he's won a couple of races. But we know Max is going to win the world title. Well, Max still wants to win every race. It doesn't matter to him. And even if you just want a race where, hey, Lando's doing well, you guys race, Max just doesn't care. He's going to do whatever he can to take out Lando.
Yeah, he will. And it'll be fast.
And Christian Horner's not going to like that. And
yeah, but I think once they get in the car, you kind of lose a little bit of control, right? You always hear the debriefing side. I think even Lewis and George, they had a few run-ins a little bit, right? Like they're competitive against one another. And Mercedes said, "Yeah, you guys race.
Yeah.
We're go ahead. Let's battle it out."
But Lewis isn't as insane as Max Verstappen is.
And he's more loyal.
And Lewis is like, when cooler heads prevail, I don't think Max looks like at it ever as he was wrong, right?
Yes.
He was always right. You saw Lewis did something. In the moment, he's saying, what was George doing there? But afterwards, you saw Lewis went up and apologized, right? Realized that he was at fault, said he was at fault. You won't see that from Max at all, right? So,
and that's where I'm with you. For Red Bull, the best thing is to put the second best driver you can get out there and let them race.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Max won't like that, and that's where
I
wonder if Red Bull does sit there and go like, no, we're not going to put as good of a driver next to Max because we don't want to piss Max off.
That's why I think he would like to see Perez as his second guy, because he knows he can beat him in that car, and he doesn't pose a threat. He is more worried about someone else. He doesn't have to worry about.
And for a while, Perez was very loyal and did whatever he could to help Max win that one title.
He helped Max win the title. Like, he held Lewis back.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have made a difference at all.
No, it came down to what's the other Canadian?
Oh, the GOAT, Latifi.
Crashing into the wall. That's what
cost.
Yeah. Max was going to lose and Lewis was going to win.
Yeah.
So, but in that race, like, he held him up, and Max was saying, "You're the pit bull. Like, you're the best." Yeah. And then when Max goes, or Perez tries to win a race the next year, Max goes, "I hate this guy. Screw you."
Know. It's unbelievable.
You crashed in Monaco on purpose. All of that.
A beast.
Oozing.
Just a beast. I love it.
Yeah, that will actually be something for me. I'll be very intrigued to see how Red Bull handles car 2 if Perez doesn't.
55 days, buddy. 55
days. Ralph Schumacher. It came to me while you were talking.
Oh, Ralph. Yeah, that's it.
Also, Duck Dad in the Nasty Chat saying they were talking about Power Washing Simulator on Winnipeg Sports Talk yesterday. Big time dad energy there. I just want a power wash. Why would you want to sim that?
Power wash? Really?
I don't know if I would want that's.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's power washing is a lot of fun. I want to feel the power, and I want to see the water go. And,
yeah.
Maybe if you're on a skyscraper, take that in a simulator.
I don't have a lawn. I love cutting grass, but would I want to do that in a simulator? Would I want to fake cut grass? No, I said part of cutting grass is the smelling of the grass as you cut it. Like that smell is wonderful.
And I do the dad thing after I cut the grass. I might stare at it for a good 15 minutes and go, looks like Candlestick Park right there.
Crosscut.
Do you do
the crosscut?
Well, do you change how you cut it each week? Or do you just always do the same pattern each week?
No. I'll switch it up. See what I like. I like the crosscut. Try to make it go one way and the other. Way overseed and get big that thing looking like.
How big's your lawn?
It's not big.
Well, maybe one time this year.
Yeah. I gotta have an EST barbecue, I think.
You're gonna make me cut grass at the barbecue?
No. You got to do something over there.
Somebody get Matty up here.
He's gonna cut grass. Dusty's gonna power wash your car.
I think
Eric's gonna clean your windows. We're here for a barbecue, but really we're doing your spring errands.
That's maybe build a deck. I don't know, but I think
that's Lucas's job.
I think Cass and I should have a barbecue off at some point. Ooh. So we'll have you both over, and you guys can vote. We can have a big
Both
barbecue.
of us or all of us?
All of us.
Okay.
So
Just inviting B and
just you,
Tommy.
Well, I need my,
me and Tommy, me and Dustin. That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone else, too bad.
we'll have to cater. Well, might have to order some McDonald's for Dustin.
Yes,
but
I was
whatever.
about to
Say, like, are you going to plan a menu? If
we
you were
will-
in a cooking competition with Cass, would you care about Dusty's vote at all? Would you care about everyone else's?
Well, yeah, because Dusty would have a vote. I would have to, he would.
But you have to cook like it's one thing you're cooking. Are you going to just give up his vote to try to win everyone else, or are you going to cater to Dusty?
Yeah. Well, there's got to be a few categories too. I think we'll iron it out, but because salad, he's not trying that. So that's anything green. We're looking major meats for Dusty at
it's
some
like
point.
steak or chicken. I think that's about all you're getting.
And don't be wild with the seasoning or anything. Let's not do Cajun
no sauce.
chicken here or anything
yeah.
like that. It's
Unless
just
it's ranch.
salt and pepper on that.
Yeah.
Boom. Here we go. A little barbecue sauce. Dusty's happy.
Can you deep fry it?
Because Cass has some pretty good cooking chops. We have a little text chain where we put out what we've made, and Cass has made some pretty good looking things.
Barbecuing is great.
Oh, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
The best.
the best.
I've never gone to smoking. I know you've been smoking.
Yeah. I don't have the nice deluxe smoker. My brother-in-law does. I think Cass has one out at his.
Wait, you're saying that your brother-in-law buys you some sort of cooking?
Oh
device?
he's unbelievable at it. He actually. Great story. The big green egg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He has a little place down by Sylvan, and the guy across from him, I guess, left, but he left his big green egg there. And these things are like $3,000 or something.
Oh, yeah.
So, but he gave him, I think it was like $300. And my brother-in-law is one of the most talented guys in the world. He built this whole encased structure, so cutting boards, everything, and encased the big green egg in there. So. We got plans to do a brisket at one point, but that's like a 16-hour haul.
Is it?
The big green egg. Who would have thought? Hey,
Yeah, so.
you name something. and-
Duck Dad saying Cass versus Gage barbecue off. That's the content creation I'm looking for.
All right.
There we
All
go.
right. Yeah,
We'll have
see?
the whole.
Tommy will be knocking on your door.
We can have you. We'll send Tommy with you guys to film you guys buying your ingredients.
Oh, there we
and
go, yeah.
all
Actually,
of the
no.
full
We have to
prep.
keep Tommy at home. He can only watch it on
Yeah, he's gonna
YouTube.
watch it. That's right. But we'll go film you guys as you buy your stuff. You could talk through it,
Yeah.
and then we'll cook it, and Tommy can watch it because that's the content that Tommy really
That's what
loves.
Tommy's looking for.
That's
Perfect.
what he enjoys. It's
He can do his hair at home while he's watching barbecue. What's better than
as
that?
he's filming
As
his,
he- yeah.
as he's doing his show.
Exactly.
While people are watching of him. It's going to be like a inception of content creation.
Mm-hmm.
People watching Tommy do his hair as he's watching Gager and Cass buy their ingredients, and it's just full inception.
Love it.
These are the plans of EST.
Full circle.
And this is what we're going to do.
Feel the flow.
And it's all going to be great in 2024.
Awesome.
This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato, Caesar, Matt Iwanyk, Joaquin Gage, Dash in the Park with you here. Your thoughts always welcome. 780-218-9999. That's the Parish Jewelers inbox. You can jump into the nasty chat. Back to the NHL here because we're talking about the 3 points. If you guys could actually change one thing in the NHL, what would it be? Would it be the 3 points? Is that the way you would
I got
go
a
with-
couple of hot takes here.
Oh, well, then
Go
let's have
for it.
them.
Let's hear him.
Okay, well, I want to go back because before we were talking about 3 points, we were talking about the schedule in January.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump in and just kind of say I honestly think this. If we can get past Ottawa, we might sweep January. Hot take alert. That schedule could not be more favorable for us. Like
So Ottawa,
if-
Chicago, Detroit, Montreal, Toronto, Seattle, Calgary, Columbus, Chicago, Nashville.
who are
that's
you
the-
intimidated in there?
Toronto.
And they're terrible goaltending?
Toronto has the Oilers' number, I would think. I'd have to go back on recent
Jones
games.
just had a shutout in LA.
Yeah, good point. I don't know. I Toronto's the best team in there. Ottawa might be the scrappiest. Now, the Oilers of the past will play down to other teams' levels, but we haven't really been doing that. And we've owned Chicago. We've owned Nashville. I don't know. It's Chicago twice in there. Columbus certainly isn't intimidating. I honestly think if we can get past Ottawa and get over the little hump here, if we get 3 in a row, that means we go into Montreal to try to set a franchise record in Hockey Night in Canada.
They always play terrible in Montreal.
But it's a franchise record on Hockey Night in Canada. How much money is going to be on the board?
I guess, maybe.
I don't know. So I know. I think it's, call my psychiatrist. I know that's ridiculous and crazy, but
like Chicago and Columbus, 3 games right there. Those should be 3 wins.
Nashville?
Okay, let's go into that one. Nashville.
Draisaitl can beat Nashville by himself.
Nashville's already beaten this team. In Edmonton, it's in 2:00 start. I think that last game was a 2:00 start. Maybe it's a 1:00 start in Edmonton. So, yeah, Edmonton should win that one. But Nashville is a wild card team right now, and that one could be in. Is Seattle?
I don't know. It's
there. Like, look, I'm not going to sit here and say it's crazy if the Oilers go and sweep January, but I also look and go, there's a couple spots where I could see them maybe dropping points.
Like they're playing at a definitely a high level right now. Getting to the point where the changes that I would make, I would drop the number of games that you play. First of all, I think that would be the first thing.
What's the number?
I would look at 60 to 65 games.
64, 32 teams.
Yeah.
So a bubble or the all Canadian division year in COVID was 56. Was it? Which wasn't a bad, actually. I didn't mind that number. A few more games than that, I think is perfect.
I just think you get into the level of play would increase. The games mean so much more. Not that they don't mean anything now, but I think there would be a lot more emphasis on each and every game. You get into these days, like right before the All-Star break, like the end of January, February, you're just like, oh my gosh, when is the end of the season? You've been playing a lot of hockey. I just think you watch some of those games and they're just like paint dry. Teams are just kind of going through the motions at times just because it's exhausting to play at that level for that amount of time. I know they would never do it because of revenue and things, but I think that the quality of play would be so much higher throughout the whole season with a few less games during the regular season.
But here's how you get around the losing less games gate revenue. That's why the owners would say no. This is part of why I would go with you add an in-season tournament and you replace those games with the in-season tournament games. And there's a way of doing it. But so if you're talking about, let's say 64, you're needing to replace 18 games, which is 9 home games. Like you could add that in an in-season tournament where this is a full soccer model for those that don't fully understand it. But it's, weekday games, maybe every Tuesday and Thursday or something, are kind of the in-season games or something. And it's a tournament that runs October through January, and then the knockout starts in February or something like that, or you move that around. But that's how you can make up those dates where the regular season part, now you've just made the regular season, those games matter more. When you drop 2 points in a 64-game season, that matters a little bit more than an 82 game because you have less games to make it up. And then you still get your gate revenue because you've launched this other tournament that's happening over here. Yeah. That won't have as much, like for certain teams, won't have as much interest. And it's a balancing act where some teams might not care at all because we're only focused on the Stanley Cup and the regular season. This tournament's not a big deal for us. We're going to play some young guys. We're going to give them experience. We're going to give them exposure. We're going to give our backup goalie games in these ones because look, if it's, let's say it was this season, Stuart Skinner will play 64 regular season games. He'll play every game. The backup, he's playing every in-season tournament game. Yeah. That's where they're going to get their time. And we're going to play Philip Broberg in the in-season tournament and see if we can get him to playing well if I'm the Edmonton Oilers. And that's how I always envision an in-season tournament where you could shorten the regular season. You can make the regular season matter more. And then you have an in-season to give the owners their money, give the players their money, and there's different benefits that could come from it.
I like it. I like that idea. It gives you two things, and I know people don't really understand it over in North America, but in, like you said, football, there's even in hockey. When I played in the UK, we had an in-season tournament, right? Like we had the Challenge Cup, which I won.
Boom.
But no, it breaks up the monotony a little bit too of the season with something else to play for. I haven't heard any NBA players talk about the in-season tournament. How was it received amongst the players?
Very well.
Yeah.
Players loved it.
Yeah.
Players cared. Anyone that watched the tournament will know that the players tried hard
Yeah.
to go win that. They mattered. When the Bucks lost in the semifinals, they had a players-only meeting. Like, they were upset with the way they played, that they lost to the Pacers. Like, it actually did very well, and the players liked it. So,
and by all accounts, the fans liked it too.
Yeah.
There was something else, right?
it was some of the best basketball we've seen at the start of a season in years.
Yeah. So
There's and like I look at it and go that there's a way to also just grow your talent in the NHL without it affecting your Stanley Cup rights.
Just put something on the line for that in-season tournament.
That's what you do.
yeah.
And it's home ice advantage for blah, 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 or whatever, like.
I honestly think just the trophy, even it's a bit
Pride.
Once you do it for a couple years and you get the trophy, you'll be happy that you won a trophy.
Because there's bonuses in there for players too.
Oh,
Win the
you add
in-season
that
tournament.
in there.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? $1 million each for the players?
They had that, and then but then players' contracts will also start adding where it's, if we go win this, you'll get this.
Yeah.
And
Does that add to your Hall of Fame induction resume? He didn't win a cup, but he won 6 in-season tournaments.
it just adds more titles that could be won.
Just saying.
Like, hey, look, Connor McDavid, I won 2 Stanley Cups and 3 in-season tournaments.
Yeah.
And it's just one, like, if you're a team that knows you're not going to win the Stanley Cup, you could focus on the in-season to try to win something for your fans. Your fans can be like, hey, we won and we saw this competitive hockey to try to win this cup. If you're a team that's aspiring for the Stanley Cup, you might be like, we're good from that. We just want the cup. Or if you're really good, you might say, we want both.
Yeah.
We want to have the ultimate season. We're going to go win the President's Trophy, the Stanley Cup, and this in-season tournament and show everyone we are the most dominant team in hockey
That's
right
what
now.
I was going to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be an unbelievable season. Like you think guys would go nuts winning 2 championships in season. That would be awesome.
I mean, the President's Trophy never wins the Stanley Cup, let alone the in-season tournament winner and the President's Trophy.
And no one cares about that thing.
No.
The President's Trophy.
No.
Yeah, no, they don't want it.
But you sit there and say, now we've won all of this year, and you put all this hardware up there, you're going to be like, we had the greatest season in NHL history ever. Like, no one's ever going to touch this type of thing. And Man City in Premier League last year did the treble, where they won the European title, they won the league title, and they won the League Cup, which had only been done once before in England with Manchester United back in '99. Now, Man City cheated for it, 115 charges laid against them. That's coming towards you guys, Man City, or it should be. But like, it was this incredible thing. You won the treble. Like, that doesn't happen. You don't go win trebles.
Yeah.
And they won the treble. And like, if the Oilers 3 years from now went, we won the Stanley
going
Cup.
undefeated in
We
the end.
won the in-season tournament. We're the President's Trophy. Boom. Like, bam. Fans might now be like, that's stupid, participation, all that. If the Oilers go do that, you will be putting that in everyone's faces. You will be talking to the Leafs fans, be like, you can't even win the Stanley Cup, and we won the Stanley Cup and the in-season. Like, you will be loving that tournament, and you won't rip that tournament at all if your team goes and wins it. And for every team that loses it for the first few years, they're going to think it's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah. You're going to get a lot of people saying it's stupid, but I think it's a great idea. Break it up.
It was a combined effort.
Yeah.
We're just too smart.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what we need.
It's our curse.
So hot take number 2. You know what I would change about the NHL? Abolish the draft.
So now this is soccer that you're going to.
Abolish the draft. Crazy talk, I know. Dash is
How would
crazy
you
today.
handle it?
How would I handle it? That's a vague question.
Like, how do you handle new players and prospects coming to this league then? Like, what's
go where they
your
wanna
solution
play.
for it? Just overall. You just saw it's full free agency.
You go and recruit. So Connor Bedard's 18, and we're gonna go and try and recruit this player. He's not gonna go to the Oilers because they've got McDavid and Draisaitl. So does he want to play second, third line and make $6 million the rest of his life? No, he wants to go and play for a team that he can champion and be the number 1 center and make his $14 million a year. And I think there's more of a fair, I don't know. I think it would create more equity and teams would be more balanced because there's always going to be that influx of players that want to go and get paid by a team that need the players. And right now there's just too many restrictions around being able to do that.
How soon could you sign these players? What age?
Well, I don't think sign. I see what you're saying.
Because So now how this happens in soccer is you have youth
11-year-old.
academies,
Yeah.
but you have youth academies, and you go sign people, and
I don't love that
and they're
either,
in your youth academy, and like they'll be the junior Oilers, and they start developing the players, and they bring these guys in, and they grow them, and then they're within their system, and if they want, they could keep those guys, or if they don't, like they maybe start trading them or something. That would be like if you go to that model, or is it okay once you turn
It's like 15, I
18
think.
or maybe 15, you could go out and start being recruited by the NHL clubs and sign a contract that you are going to play for this franchise.
I don't think you can sign your contract until you're an adult. I think you can sign a contract with a team once you're 18. I think you could still be, like you said, signed to a minor league club or something like that, but with no guarantees that means you're going to play for that team.
I say, if I was going to do that, abolish the draft, I would say you cannot sign a player till he's 20. Because I worry about the major junior and things of guys being 18 on pro rosters and not playing.
Great
so
point.
they get rid of at least in the CHL, get rid of the 20-year-old rule. You can have as many 20-year-olds on your team. So you're looking at probably some really competitive major junior teams. But you're also, I think, strengthening club hockey as well, because you'll see these guys play up to U18 at this point, right? So, and we were talking about just the state of Canada hockey, how the U.S. is kind of have caught Canada with their with development. So I think having these almost to the over ripening a little bit in minor hockey, right? They go to 18, maybe they play junior, maybe they go to university. Who knows, right? At that point, but you cannot sign the player, or if it's a complete free agency, till they're 20. I worry a little bit about teams like the parity, but I think with the salary cap, it still won't allow you to have all the blue chip prospects, because you'll have to pay your stars anyways. But yeah, I would just extend their time in the minors. You would see the CHL become even more competitive with
tournament.
Yeah, that would that's how I'd do it.
I look at I like it actually. Like it won with the draft, it rewards failure. That's what we do right now. We reward failure. You stink,
100%.
we're going to help you out.
Yeah, that's
like, and this, if you did abolish a draft and you went in a way like this, it would put more emphasis on you have to have a strong scouting team.
Yeah.
It's because you also then have to go and try to find these guys still. And I think it just puts more on the scouts in a sense, because...
But giving them 2 more years.
It's not like they'll just fall in your lap at a certain spot and you could pick them. You got to go and identify them and try to identify early and try to have get those conversations happening early with those teams, or the agent and the player, to be like, hey, this is the place you're going to want to sign with and stuff. And I think the 20, I wouldn't actually even mind even if they just outright change the draft to 20.
I think they should.
Agreed.
I don't know how, I don't know what the percentage is. Like even the top 10 in the first round, like the amount of those guys that become regular NHLers, it's a very small number, right? I think just and having going in as a 17-year-old, turning 18 or in that window, having that, you're so young at that point, and have that pressure of I need to get drafted, and not having to worry about, and you can actually focus on becoming a better hockey player. Because look, at that age, it's so. 1 year can make a huge difference in the way a guy plays hockey. He could grow, 3 inches and put on 15 pounds. Yeah, like just crazy. So yeah, I definitely think it should go to 20, the draft. I don't like drafting 17-year-old kids. I think I don't know. It's a crapshoot. And not in the case, of course, with Bedard and McDavid, and there's some other guys, but it's just so difficult to evaluate talent at such a young age.
Yep.
How do you handle a McDavid though in those situations? Do you allow exemptions?
I think you could.
Yeah,
but they still have that 18. Or me,
yeah. It would have sucked to sit there. No, McDavid's going to be great, and be like, well, you still have to figure out hockey for 2 more years. He would go to Europe. He would have done the Austin Matthews in a sense and went to play pro somewhere else. But I think then she was like, well, we want that guy now.
Yeah.
We want you in the hockey now. So would you allow then exemptions if you jumped into 20 where you could apply and the NHL could evaluate certain players and go, okay, you are exempt. You can come in. Like we have the CHL. They have those
happens.
special exemptions. McDavid was one of those special exemptions, I believe.
And maybe you only get a certain amount, right? You can't just keep doing it every year and just... Right, like we're going to use our exemption,
like a franchise card.
For every.
But you would say like for a team or
for a
the
team,
league?
For a team.
Well, I would think like the league
or
would
the
have
league
to
would
rule.
have to.
I would think the league would have to rule it.
You're right. Yeah,
and like does the league sit there and go, we'll do max one a year? Mm-hmm. You know, we'll just
because some years there won't be one.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
There's some years where some people they'll apply, but you sit there and like, nah, we're good.
Yeah.
Like you're not necessarily something like I think a year like probably the Hall, Nugent Hopkins, Yakupov,
Sagan.
all those things. Those are years you could have probably sat there. I don't think anyone would be like, you have to be in the NHL next year.
Right.
You could have.
I
We
see
got to
what
wait
you're
till 20 or something.
Right.
Even
it's
this
the
year.
Bedard.
Yeah.
It's the McDavid years, the Crosby years, where you sit there and go,
Yeah.
that player needs to be in the NHL because they're ready.
Yeah.
They can play in this league right now, and they're
The
just
true
too good.
generational talent.
Yes.
Because then you'll get those guys that do play 18 and say, well, I'm good enough. They don't get exempted. They go to a pro league. Maybe they go to Europe or whatever, and you see how they do there. That'll be the true test of playing against men all of a sudden, and you see, whoa, they're not ready, right? So, but I'd still like to. I just think by doing that and removing the 20-year-old rule in junior, it makes it that much more difficult too. Like the league would be a lot better at that point.
Maybe they could have an exemption where 2 players a year can be under 20. The NHL can have 2 players a year that are under 20, but they play in the AHL.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
And you're playing against men.
Yeah.
That's one thing I actually find weird is that you could draft a player first rounds, and they either play in the NHL or in the juniors. Mm-hmm. There's no in between.
Well, before 20, right?
Yeah, but like if I could play this player in the NHL, why can't they play him in my American Hockey League?
Because it would ruin junior.
And that's where I'll go with. I think franchises get like an exemption once every 5 years or something. Where if you sit there like
Draisaitl wouldn't be ruined anymore because we'd have
Draisaitl. Draisaitl came up, and played 48 games or whatever it was, and then was like, he's got to go back down. Mm-hmm. But honestly, he could have went to the American Hockey League.
It's like Shane Wright.
Yeah, like why not? I think that if you're saying this player's good enough to go play in the NHL, then they're clearly good enough to play in the American Hockey League too or something.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think for teams, they probably want that. I want him playing in a little bit better competition.
So I would Shane Wright a real example of this?
Yeah.
Like he got, healthy scratched in Seattle.
Yeah.
He did play in the A. Did he not get exemption to go and play in the A?
He went back to
I think he
junior
went
the
to junior.
first year.
Yeah, and then he was eligible after.
And then afterwards,
I was remembering that wrong.
Where then, so it's like, for me, it's like that first, maybe he's one where it's not working here, but I don't want to send him to juniors if I'm around Francis. Mm-hmm. I want to send him to, are they Coachella?
I think so.
I'm going to send him there because I want him playing against a little bit more men to get his development. And maybe franchises get one every 5 years, you get or 6 years or something. You get an exemption for a player where it's, you don't have to send them to juniors. You could put them right in the American Hockey League to get them developing there because you don't think, maybe the NHL isn't for you.
And maybe you can call him up for the playoffs or something.
Yeah. Yamamoto played, 9 games here and then got sent down. It's just, to me, it's weird that it's NHL or juniors, no in between.
And I would get rid of the NCAA rules that you can't play so many major junior games and not and
then not
be
lose your eligibility.
You lose your
scholarship
eligibility. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you have any more hot takes? Those were the 2 hot takes.
Unless you got any more hot
questions. But like you said, you had a few hot takes for the rules. So I like the abolishing of the draft.
No,
actually.
my other hot take was
that
that the Oilers are going to go undefeated in January.
I will say this is just North American sports in general. I wouldn't mind seeing relegation and
I thought about that too. That was absolutely.
MLS needs it. Just that's your sport. I'm sorry, you need to add it. Hockey would be interesting. You'd have to build up the G League better to get it in basketball. Baseball would be interesting. But there's too much affiliation that I don't know how that would work. Mm-hmm. But I guess that'd be like hockey. I don't know if you add in that league. Football, you can't do it. But I would love to see promotion relegation. I don't think North Americans would ever be able to handle it.
No, gosh.
We care too much about parity. We care too much about equality in our sports. We want everyone to have an even playing field, everyone to be the same. People want to change the rules of the CBA and the NHL because Tampa and Florida have advantage because of state taxes. So how do we balance that out to make everything equal for everyone else? We want an even playing field when it's there's advantages in this world. And
think of all those fans in Calgary and Vancouver that have broke their ankles jumping off bandwagons over the years. If they get relegated, my God, those poor fans.
When the Oilers' decade of darkness, every second year would have been the American Hockey League. Like, you wanted to get out of that rebuild. You wanted to get that rebuild going quicker. Have Daryl Cates having to fill Rexall its place at the time with an American Hockey League team and charge them less, less prices, and realize, people aren't paying for this. Let's get back to the NHL and let's not go back to the American Hockey League again.
How many people are showing up for Sharks games these days?
I would love it. It'd be chaos. I love the chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think that...
radio would love it.
In the end, one day, I think maybe we will see it in North American soccer. I think. But I don't think it'll last long. I think MLS will add it, and at some point they'll go, no, this isn't working. People are too frustrated and they won't enjoy it. So, this is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's, Clamato, Caesar, Matt Iwanyk, Joaquin Gage, Dash in the Park with you here. Let's get to Movers and Shakers, brought to you by Marco and Mike Realty, Realty One Group Insider. Let Marco and Mike earn your trust. If you're looking to buy and sell a home, give them a chance. MarcoandMike.com for more information. I want to go with this segment as there's an event in Edmonton coming up in February that Heavy Hockey, you guys are putting involved, and we're going to try to help out with Edmonton Sports Talk and Heavy Hockey Showdown.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I get confused.
The Heavy Hockey Showdown. So, we've had this charity game going for, I'd say 6 or so years now.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it was a little bit smaller. Michael, that is Oilers Live, and Michael Hebert, he's lived in Edmonton and then Calgary, and so it was a little bit easier to do. He's in Halifax now, so it's a little bit harder to plan. That all said, it's for February 23rd, 24th. So when is the Flames game? The 24th?
It's 24th, 25th.
24th, 25th, thank you. So we'll be doing a watch party for the Flames game for the Battle of Alberta that evening. There's a silent auction, some 50-50s, and a bunch of stuff going on there. Then we've got the community rink at Rogers booked for the Sunday. We've got Rob Clark coming to sing the anthem. We've got Hunter coming to hang out as a mascot. And it will be Heavy Hockey Network versus Team Edmonton Sports Talk. And we're going to try and raise some money. So I think it's an excellent cause. We're raising money for the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton, SACE. And we're very, very proud of this cause. Something that really blew me away as I got involved a couple of years ago was speaking to them. Here we are in a culture, in a society, if you will, where hockey doesn't have the best reputation.
It does not right now, especially.
And I think that's pretty fair to say. There's been a lot of, alleged sexual abuse, proven sexual abuse. And when we first started hanging out and started talking to SACE, we were the first, not hockey, we were the first sports organization to reach out and want to raise money for them, which spoke volumes to me, literally screamed volumes to me of all the problems and those types of encounters that happen in all of sport, not just hockey, that nobody would reach out to the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. So we're very proud to have a record year last year. We raised over $25,000. For every $97 raised, it gives somebody else another counseling session. So more importantly, we raised over 2,500 counseling sessions and decreased the wait list a little bit. So I think it's just something that, we can't change. Gager and I can't just snap our fingers and change culture in hockey. If we could, we would. But you can do your little part and you can do your little piece. So this is what we're trying to do. It's just our part, our little way to try to raise awareness, raise some money, and have a lot of fun. So I think we're gonna have Dusty and Tommy. I don't know, Gager, I'm putting you on the spot here, but
I'll venture out.
So we're taking registrations now. The link is out there on heavyhockey.com, as well as Oilers Live on Twitter, as well as heavyhockey_net on Twitter. So get out there if you want to come out and play some hockey with the Heavy Hockey guys and Gager and Tommy and Dusty and raise some money and help us raise some money, then that would be great.
Come join the millions of others that have scored on me.
Team EST versus Team Heavy Hockey Network. As you mentioned, Feb 25th, downtown community arena, but 40% full when it comes to registration. Get your own personalized jersey as well. Dash mentioned it there. Heavyhockey.com/Heavy Hockey Showdown. And there is the event on the 24th with the silent auction, raffles, and the party with the game happening on the 25th. So a great cause, and 6 weeks away or 7 weeks away or so.
Yeah, we currently have an auction going for sponsorship and naming rights for the teams as well. So the winning bid, if you will get a naming right and a sponsorship for the jerseys. So, Edmonton Sports Talk can be
perfect.
Hot pink, and we can be leopard print. Or
it's got to be hot pink. It's got to be hot pink. I like wearing pink. Not gonna lie.
Somebody puts enough money in, they can call you guys the EST Stoffers or whatever.
We have to have him on our team.
Well, let's invite Bob out. Hell yeah. We want The Rock then. If you guys are bringing Bob, we want The Rock.
They almost fought.
That's what I'm saying. Let's re-engage that.
Well, Bob wanted to. George blew him up at the media game when I'm just
like garage sale equipment everywhere.
Yeah, and Bob wanted to fight.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. I could see that out of Bob, and it wouldn't go well.
Oh no.
Red
Bob
Bull in one
skating is
hand.
interesting.
Oh yeah.
We all saw that lately.
Yeah.
He out in Seattle, which that was a weird, the others practicing in a spot where there's like a bunch of public skating or something.
So that's their community rink.
Yeah,
right?
it's just like you got all these Oilers just watching people in Seattle skating around, and I do wonder how many of those people realized who was watching them.
I bet a lot. I bet you a lot.
A lot.
Oh yeah, Seattle's had hockey there for a long time, man. Like the Thunderbirds have been part of the community for. I remember going into that old rink in Seattle. It was hard to play in. Back even before, like a few years prior, that's where they had the World Junior Tournament, and Peter Nedved defected and went to the Thunderbirds and just torched the league with him and I think it was Glenn Goodall. Pretty sure it was Glenn Goodall. He's got his they were just unbelievable. And I mean they actually remember the old Gary Glitter or whatever rock and roll. Yep. That started in Seattle. They did that for years before. I think the rest of the sports world. They were doing it, and I remember I've told this story, but Corey Hirsch. I was with the Camus Blazers as a 17-year-old. We went down for an exhibition game in Seattle, and we were splitting the game. Corey was going in first. He goes, "Don't let them score on you. The fans do something weird here." I go, "What do they do? What do they do?" And so we were getting to the halfway point, and I go, "Oh, I was hoping they scored on them so I could see what they did." They finally did, and then they played the they went, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy!" So I went in and shut the door. They didn't have to do it again.
There we go.
You got the one time.
Yeah, I got cut a few weeks later.
Gager hates Gary Glitter.
I actually love that song, though. It's on my playlist.
That's Movers and Shakers, brought to you by Marco Mike Realty. Realty One Group Insider, MarcoMike.com for more info. And again, I want to make sure I always get my websites. HeavyHockey.com/Heavy Hockey Showdown. If you're wanting to register and take part and play with Heavy Hockey and the EST boys in February, and all in a support of a good cause, the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. Reminder also, if you're looking for any sort of merch partners, High Product Marketing is who you're going to want to get in touch with. They've done some great merch for us here at Edmonton Sports Talk. We're going to have more things coming through them throughout the year of 2024. If you're looking for stuff for your own company, organization, if you just want personal stuff just because you think you're that.
Maybe we need jerseys for a charity game.
Just jerseys for a charity game. Highproductmarketing.com. Reach out to them. They do just some great things. Speak to Chelsea and she'll take really good care of you. I want to get into the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999. A couple of questions just coming in on the Elks I want to get to. This one coming in from Chris Sadaway. Why would the Elks release Dunbar Jr.? Thought there was something there with Ford and him. The Edmonton Elks yesterday releasing receiver Steven Dunbar Jr. They had to make some sort of move when it came to a wide receiver. They had too much money invested in the wide receivers with Eugene Lewis, with Dunbar. Kyron Moore is going to be a free agent, I believe. You're going to want to re-sign Kyron Moore. You just when you watch that season, you saw that the O-line needs to be improved. And there's a few other spots that need to be improved. And you can't do that when you have all this money tied into receiving. And what happened last year was the Elks didn't think they were going to get Eugene Lewis, so they went and switched their attention and got Stephen Dunbar to be their number one receiver, and then all of a sudden Eugene Lewis says, I'll come to Edmonton.
Yeah. So
the Elks had to find some money to get Eugene Lewis. They signed Eugene Lewis, and they spent more on receiving than I think they would have, but it's Eugene Lewis. You have to bring him in. So there needed to be a change this year, and Stephen Dunbar was the casualty. It was something I thought that we'd see towards the end of the season, that this is the move we'd make. Gives Chris Jones a little bit of money now to maybe go improve, in my mind, the offensive line. There's a couple of games where Ford got him in the end zone. But beyond that, Stephen Dunbar didn't exactly have this unbelievable season that they can move past Stephen Dunbar and they'll be fine. So, not shocked that happened yesterday. Abutsky is asking also, will they release Taylor Cornelius before he's due a bonus on January 15th? I think he's also got some guaranteed money, though. So I'm not sure if
really?
We'll see there. Because the CFL in their last CBA changed a rule. Well, now there's guaranteed money you could do. Mm-hmm. You could get like half your money guaranteed or something like that. And in like the second, third years or something of your contract, I'm forgetting exactly how it goes. And Cornelius got one of those. So he has some money that is guaranteed to him, I think, this year. So I don't know if you'd want to
be beneficial
him.
just to keep him?
Oh, if you're paying a guy.
Yeah.
I'd take him. I like Taylor Cornelius as a backup.
Yeah.
If Trey Ford gets hurt, or if you just need a game where you need to throw someone in there, I'm okay with Taylor Cornelius being the guy. I don't want him as the starter. Mm-hmm. And Trey Ford's still not making, like he's still on a rookie deal.
Cornelius.
So the money works out there because Cornelius is making the more quote unquote starter money, but Trey Ford isn't. Yeah. So, and Cornelius is off the books as of next year.
Cornelius is good at short yardage too.
Unbelievable at short yardage.
Cornelius shove.
We'll see if that comes into the CFL this year. We're just over a month away from CFL free agency, and the Elks have some players that are due bonuses on the 15th. So there's the first domino fall. We'll see what comes of that, and I'd also expect we'll hear some coaching announcements. That's what happens in the CFL this time of year. We hear teams finalize all their coaching staffs, OCs, DCs, all those positions, and we should get that news from the Elks. But no surprise when it comes to Stephen Dunbar Jr. I just want May to already come and get back to tailgating and get back to watching some CFL football. And we'll do pre and post here at Edmonton Sports Talk once again. Well, not once again. Not here. But from 1260, it's going to finally come over here to EST. Green and Gold kickoff post-game shows will return here in 2024. We're reviving them. There's no question about that. Did you guys get to any? Well, you got to many games this year. But
I didn't watch ton. I was working.
Did you get to any games this past season?
I went to two, I believe. Yeah.
Did you see one of the wins or
no?
You saw the losses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The wins are great. It was such a relief.
It's so frustrating in the kitchen because you're in the kitchen. It's same thing if someone scores. Like you hear the crowd go nuts, and then you get all happy. Oh, we're winning, and then you can kind of tell when the other team scores because the announcer's like just so glum announcing it first of all, but then you go out and they're down, and you're like, how'd that happen? Everyone was so happy. So hopefully it can. I'm looking forward to see what it's going to look like without a upper bowl. It's
going to be intriguing what it looks like without upper bowl. That's also not going to be tarped.
Yeah,
because they won't tarp it because it's going to cost too much money. It's just going to be empty. I think it's going to come like it's 31,000 seats or something in the lower bowl. If you have 28,000 there, 26,000 there, it's going to look pretty full, and I think that will make it look okay.
It'll look pretty good. It's too bad they can't tarp that thing.
Yeah, but if it's only 18,000 in that lower bowl, and even it's now you can't even point to. Well, you got people though scattered in the upper bowl. It's just going to be there's not people there, and it's going to be a rough thing. So.
Well, isn't it a pretty good opportunity to advertise with the tarps and stuff up there?
That's what I was thinking.
But it's going to cost, I think, $10,000 a section.
EST can afford one of those. 50-yard line tarp.
And I don't think you could have just certain, only a couple done.
Yeah,
I think you either have to do them all or you do none. Yeah. And so you'd have to get, 50 businesses to want to put up 10K or whatever it's going to be.
Do the virtual boards like they do in hockey. They can just recycle a logo up there.
That's going to cost a lot more money, I would say. Or just get a full green screen one.
Yeah.
Do it
There
all
you
green.
go.
You could keep changing it.
Yeah,
You could do a bunch of different
Half
things.
the seats are green anyways.
I think they're looking, maybe you could just do it right on top anyways.
Exactly.
I think they're more focused on ownership at this point. So getting that new owner in place and seeing who it is. And I don't know if yesterday Will Fraser on the Hangout came up with the perfect idea for Elks ownership.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so Nathan Fillion's from Edmonton.
Oh, I heard this. Yeah.
You get Nathan
I heard
Fillion.
the Hangout, but I missed that part.
You convince Nathan Fillion to get in. And then if he sits there and goes, hey, who's a friend or somebody I know that owns a sports team? Ryan Reynolds' his buddy. Boom. All of a sudden, Ryan Reynolds, Nathan Fillion own the Edmonton Elks. We just got to start tweeting at Nathan Fillion every day saying, hey, buy the Edmonton Elks.
That's tough.
Save
though,
your
'cause
city's team.
Reynolds is from Vancouver, though.
So,
Yeah, but he was trying to buy the Senators.
exactly.
I
Wasn't
know,
trying to buy the
but
Canucks.
he didn't.
Because the NHL said no.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, the NHL wasn't moving quick enough and he pulled.
Yeah.
We talked about this last Hangout. If Ryan Reynolds buys the Senators, Woodcroft might still have a job. Then they don't pull Staios. If it's Staios and Jackson has a plan B, and
So Ryan Reynolds owes the city of Edmonton.
that's not, I was just
go
bringing that full
I'll just
circle.
go there.
Just
Ryan
bringing that
Reynolds.
full
You need to buy the Edmonton Elks,
Thank you
Ryan.
for
You
that.
know,
You're
just
such a
straight
pro,
up.
Matty.
I'll tweet that too towards Ryan Reynolds, maybe. Just like, hey. And then like he could sell his aviation gin and
Oh my gosh.
That'll
Have
be
you ever
perfect.
tried that?
Actually haven't. I bought it for Lucas.
Did you?
Old,
It's good.
but I don't know how it is.
It's really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest gin guy. Like, what do you drink it? Just straight? Or do you mix
Usually,
it?
but a gin and tonic and stuff. Or my martinis, I use gin. So
Luke's-
shaken, not stirred.
Luke's a big gin guy. His Caesars are all gin, never
Yeah.
vodka.
Yeah. Gin Caesars are great. Actually, Clamato has a gin.
Yeah, I saw that. Gin Caesar.
Gin Caesar that we need to try in here.
It's whether the top Caesar brand in the country.
Exactly.
Mott's Clamato Caesar. Look at us just turning this all around, you know. I think this is Michael in the nasty chat of Heavy Hockey. Naming rights auction is online to get your chance to sponsor and name either Heavy Hockey Network team or Edmonton Sports Talk team name. And then surveyor Brett saying he's also reffing. What an honor to be on the same ice as you, Dash. So
Sorry, Brett. That's the first nice thing you said about me in that chat.
Norman, a combine. The Elks had to cut payroll as they had to up the payroll for the guy making hot dogs. So maybe maybe there's money coming here. Maybe have you been having negotiations with this team? And this is what's happening.
From what I hear, there's
That's
no more
good to know.
Popeyes next year. So
What?
Yeah. We're getting rid of the sandwiches.
Oh, no.
So it's a Gager's Gourmet Dog is what's going to replace it.
Interesting. I wonder why that. Because that's a city thing too, though. That's not an Elks thing. I don't believe.
Yeah, I think they were trying it. And
Well, and the KFC I heard is now in Rogers.
are they?
I heard. I thought I saw somebody online post a picture that KFC is now. They've added a one at Rogers.
I mean, yeah, I'd like to see local establishments come in and have their things. Like just to, I think there's opportunity there.
Put
for
Northern
something.
Chicken in.
Exactly. Like just have a revolving.
It's the same as the craft beers, like Molson Coors, all that. Like great brands. Keep those,
Yeah.
but add some local craft beer options.
Yeah.
6 o'clock or lager, but like just alley cats or whatever. Like that's one thing the Riverhawks do is that you go and there's alley cats actually their beer. I think they have a few others. There's a gin that they have. Nova, I think, is like the little like almost seltzers type drinks that they have. I think is it Nova, Dark Sky Distillery. That's who it is. That's what their drink is called. That's the stuff you need to do. Support local in that sense. And
Is there
people love that stuff.
Like how close has there been any talk with the Riverhawks and Edmonton Sports Talk at all?
In terms of,
Yeah.
we're just like opening up. You're like wanting to open up all of our businesses. Like in terms of what?
Broadcasting games.
Oh no, we haven't had any discussions with anyone about anything.
All right.
Nothing at all.
Nothing. Legitimately, there isn't. That is legit on my board right now. If you go in 2024 to talk to various one of the people that like we want to talk to them. We want to do stuff with the Riverhawks.
Yeah.
We'd love to have an Edmonton Sports Talk night down at the Remax or something. So like it's early. 2024, it's now time to start the planning of this year in full for me, and I just need to get the time to do that. And bye week this week has not helped me because there's been a lot of other work that we've had to work on, and I haven't been able to start plans for various other things. So next week, bye week's over, and we're back to regular season action here at EST.
Well, we all know as
thank you for that name of EST bye week this week. You know,
you've been using that quite a bit. I don't know if it was a dream or a vision that I had. I just see a Cam Moon calling with Eric calling a Riverhawks game.
Cam is not allowed to.
I know. I realize that, but I think it
Cam's
would be,
not allowed to call anything but the Edmonton Oilers.
That sucks because he's a great broadcaster.
Oilers won't approve it.
That sucks. It's a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
and calling a baseball game, I think, would be fun.
Yep. You'd be good at it, Gager. You'd tell stories, and
that's what I think it is. It's just a lot of stories.
It is.
Yeah, I know. I'd like to see the professionals do it. I'd like to see Dusty do one. I'd like to see Cam do one. I think it would be good. I'd like to see you do one. I don't think he's broadcast based, or maybe at the summer games.
No, he did because he worked for a minor baseball team.
Did he?
Back in Lethbridge or something. Yeah,
right.
And I'm just trying to remember the stories he talked about. And I think one year he actually called, like they only did like a Saturday broadcast or something.
Yeah.
And he ended up calling those. I think he had to do everything else too, but those games he did it. I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm not misremembering. I'll have to ask him next week about it. But I think he called some. But I think the hardest sport to call play-by-play might be hockey.
Yeah.
It's so fast. It's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
I think if you could call hockey, like you are an unbelievable talent in that. Football, it's start, go.
Yeah.
Start, stop. Baseball, same type of thing that I feel like if you're a good enough broadcaster, you could master this. So Dusty would have no problem with that.
I think he'd
Dusty would crush that.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
I do color commentary for wrestling, and it's pretty fast moving, and it's going around, and there's a lot of chaos there too.
I don't want to go behind the
play-by-play
doors
versus color
too
is
much.
different.
How much? Because that's love wrestling. Mm-hmm. How much do you know what's going to happen as an announcer?
Ask me after the show.
Okay. Because from what I know with WWE or something,
I know who's going to win. That's about it.
That's it too.
And the spot where it'll happen.
Okay, I didn't even know. It's just one. The match just happens.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't know what's going to.
They're planning that match in the ring.
Yeah,
they're calling that match. Only those two guys know what they're going to do, other than a couple of high points. Right, this has to happen to have a comeback and a turn, and then this guy's going to win in this fashion. And
I would love to follow WWE just to how the whole plan, a whole episode of Raw, the whole thing, and then go watch the production of it and how they figure. I would love you don't see cameras basically on a WWE broadcast.
No,
almost unless they want you to see one. Now there's the occasional ones that are there, but for the most part, if a camera's in the shot,
they're flipping views.
There's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. It's coming into play in some way, shape, or form, or something, and their production value is just absolutely insane. So
it is. That's why all the wrestlers have to go to, for the wrestling fans out there, NXT and do the TV taping practice. Because they need to know where to be. Oh. They need to know where the hard cam is. They need to know.
I didn't even think of that.
Mm-hmm. So guys from WCW back in the day would come over and they'd do their production and cameras in different places, different placements. So they would often struggle when they'd come over. So now they've kind of mended that by this NXT is the AHL, if you will, of the WWE, where they go and try out. And so now if a guy's really big in one of the other promotions like AEW, generally they'll come over and they'll go to NXT because they need to learn how they produce, where their cameras are.
I didn't even think of that.
Wow.
I missed one of my favorite times as a kid was the WWE versus WCW.
Yeah, man. The Monday Night Wars.
When Shane McMahon bought WCW from Vince. And, oh my God, who's going to survive? And I was naive enough at that time because I was young enough. I thought this was completely real. Mm-hmm. Shane took this from Vince. WWE might go away because WCW is going to win. And I needed WWE to win that Survivor Series. And Kurt Angle saved WWE. Not Stone Cold. It was Kurt Angle. And that was a great year. I might actually one day buy the WWE Network just to relive that
There's
year.
a documentary out on it.
Is there a doc on that too? Yeah. It was so well done, and
the Monday Night Wars, I think, or something. Like
yes, the Monday Night, and that was epic. And did you get into wrestling much?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was old school WWF and then WCW or NWA.
They're both out there.
Yeah, that was like I started watching Ric Flair. He was down there. Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, those guys, Nikolai Volkov. I hacksaw Jim Duggan, all the old school guys from WWF, Gorilla Monsoon. I actually knew.
You're naming my wrestling figurine.
Oh
collection.
yeah. Bruno Sammartino. I was friends with his. My parents were friends with his brother in Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I mean, every Friday night you'd go play hockey, come home and watch wrestling. I was always fascinated with NWA because sometimes they'd have a championship match and it would be an hour long.
Yes,
like they would.
Sting and Ric Flair did 60 minutes.
Yeah, like Ric Flair would do 55 minutes of him getting his butt kicked.
Yeah,
and then
just to cheat to win at the end.
One of the four horsemen would give him a roll of quarters and he'd hit him and win. And I was so mad. Yeah. But I loved Ric Flair. That his documentary on, I think it's on Disney Plus. Actually, it's really good. But
there's a 30 for 30 as well.
What is it called? Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah. Those documentaries are phenomenal. If you have not seen the Dark Side of the Ring, go watch.
Go watch.
I haven't gotten into those yet. Dude,
my
brother and dad, I think, watched some of those.
So good.
Yeah, you'll pound out at least 5 or 6 of them.
That's right. Crazy stories.
I think it's Ric Flair that Uke was once he was in town, ended up being at a dinner with him or something, and he ordered steak tartare or something, just like full raw and all of that, and that's just who Ric Flair is. Just nothing fazed him.
Nothing.
Yeah, and he had 15 bourbon before that.
Yes, and just like would just keep crushing him, and it's the lifestyle those guys.
He's the only wrestler that lived his lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine having to be on the road that much of the year, like they are.
It's a lot, man.
Yeah,
I had the figurines, like the ring and stuff. Yeah, I had all that stuff.
Great.
WWE, AEW right now, or isn't there a third one? Like
there's
ones.
TNA and
that's okay.
Yeah, there's Ring of Honor and some others that are New Japan. I like the chaos of AEW. I don't know what it is. It's losing its popularity. There's dressing room fights and
that's the thing I heard recently is that AEW because it was the hottest thing.
Yeah,
that it's not. Something's happened.
Cody Rhodes invented AEW and was a founder and is now in WWE. So.
There's always going to be the allure of WWE. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be there because it's
not the big money anymore, right? And that's what it used to be. It's like, well, that's where we can go to make the $3 to $5 million a year. But with Tony Khan being the owner of, like, there's they own the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like when Vince McMahon was just up on allegations recently, and the WWE was for sale, and the UFC ended up buying it. There was rumors AEW was going to buy WWE. That's how wealthy the Khans are.
Yep. When they own a soccer team.
Yes.
I want to say Fulham, but I could be wrong.
Something like that. Yeah.
So, those NFL owners, just the money that they have, there's nothing like it.
No.
Like
license to print.
All of it. Well, Manchester United just sold only 25% of their club for like $2 billion to the richest guy in England. And they had the Qataris that were also interested in stuff. And that club, like the Glazers who own them, they also own the Buccaneers. They have just a bunch of money, and they were looking at a full sale. They wanted like $7-8 billion, and that's U.S.
Maybe they should buy the Elks.
Like, no, the Glazers need to stay far away from Edmonton. I want
Ryan Reynolds.
No, I just don't hate the Glazers. They're awful. They are the worst. You do not want the Glazers.
Worse than Dallas Aikens?
Yes.
Oof.
I did not. The only good thing the Glazers did with this sale is they gave up football control to Jim Ratcliffe. But they need to sell the whole thing. They've been just a leech on Manchester United. So yeah, I wanted to get rid of them. But like when it's just now, that's where sports franchise though are going. Where it's like the Sens almost went for $1 billion almost. Like Ottawa Senators.
Ottawa Senators.
Wow. I thought they'd be a lot better, but I have been saying they'll be better for 3 years now. So Don't
We said
listen
that
to
for
me.
a few teams. Buffalo
Yeah.
Sabres we thought would be much
Yeah.
higher in their evolution, and we said that for the Oilers for a while too, that they should have been higher. And these rebuilds aren't as easy
No,
as you would think.
you got to rebuild on the fly. The full teardown rebuild is difficult because I think you do have to have an element of some veteran presence who has won before. And that's still what I think the Oilers are missing. They need
during their decade, you mean? Or
Well,
now?
no, this year.
Yeah.
I think
Not just now, Gage, right? Haven't they missed that for 10
they
years?
kind of have.
Like when you hand the reins over to Gagne, Nielsen, and Cogliano in your first line, and you don't have any veterans to.
You need guys that have won before, just been through the whole thing and done it. I think there's.
Corey Perry's available.
Well, I know.
The rebuild on the fly, I always felt they didn't win it ultimately, but I think the Sharks did it great for so long. They were the top
done.
team in the West for such a
Detroit,
long
too,
time.
like 20 some years in a row. They made
Yeah.
the playoffs. I mean, that was pre cap, I suppose, right? But,
When you have Nick Lidstrom
They have Nick Lidstrom.
and
He
in your
made.
back end, that's
and $6 million a year,
Yeah.
and nobody's making more than Nick. So
Yeah.
everybody's, that's.
everyone just follows.
It's funny
under,
how
falls in line.
certain players make everyone better. I thought, who was that guy? Was it Markov from the Canadians, defenseman?
Andre Markov?
Yeah. If you look back and see his D partners for a certain stretch of time, they all went out somewhere else and signed major, huge deals
right.
and sucked without Markov beside him.
Yeah.
Like he should get royalties from like 3 or 4 other guys because they cashed in after playing with Markov. I wish I would have played with Markov.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and so's defensemen too. That there are some of the players that do that so well.
Oh yeah. Like and
Chris Pronger is.
Chris Pronger's
He went to Stanley Cup Finals with 3 separate clubs.
Yeah. Just a beast of a man. He's so arrogant and so cocky, but can back it up too. Like just did his give a poop meter was just so you see his interviews, right?
Yeah, 0
And
F's to give.
well, he's so big in stature, looking down on everyone and saying, I'm not going to answer you, and just like ridiculing people. Like, yeah, it would have been nice to have that kind of confidence. But he was a great defenseman, man. He was so good. And to a smaller extent, Ekholm does make people he plays with a lot better.
There is a potential of something related to EST and Chris Pronger coming very soon.
Holy smokes.
It's something there. That's all I'll say.
What?
That's all I'll say. It's nothing major, but just stay tuned to EST next week. There's a chance of something in relation to Chris Pronger. So glad his name got thrown out there right now. 780-218-9999, Paris Jewelers Inbox. Just to our conversation about abolishing the draft and stuff. And, if you move a draft to 20, let's say, I think you allow the first 5 picks in a draft to allow drafting 18-year-olds, but every pick after that is 19 plus. So every year, it's just like if there is an 18-year-old, if you have a top 5 pick, you could take them. Yeah. But if you have pick 6 or through the rest of the draft, they aren't going to be eligible. So if that player is an 18-year-old and they go into the draft that year and they don't get picked in the first 5, well, then they're not getting picked that year. They could catch an early flight home. Mm-hmm. But if you're a 20-year-old or anything else, you're still eligible or something. So that might be one way around it. Because if you're willing to use a top 5 pick on an 18-year-old, probably are ready to play in the NHL, especially if that in those rules where it's like, well, we want them. Although, I don't know. I would maybe make it top 3. Because I could see a team now, as I'm thinking that the trade up just to get an 18-year-old, just to get him before anyone else can.
I know.
But keeping him in the juniors.
But then what would that cost?
Right? And it'd be a high cost.
Right.
Yeah, maybe it's. Yeah.
But it's like, hey, if I'm a team and I'm okay dropping to 8th or 9th, but this other team's going to jump in and grab an 18-year-old just because they don't want to wait 2 years for someone else to get them, I'd maybe make it a top 3.
That does put a lot of pressure on the scouts. They got to get it right.
Right?
Yeah.
But also, if you made it where 18-year-olds could be only picked for a certain number of picks,
I think teams would still tank, though.
They would, but if you're a team that knows, okay, this 18-year-old's actually going to be really good. No one sees it right now, but we're going to jump up. We're going to get that pick. We're going to take, and people are going to be like, what are you doing? But what? Wait, just wait type thing. That's where if you have a great scouting department, it's going to cash in. Or if you have a bad one, you've just set your franchise back.
One of the advantages
significantly
to getting rid of the draft is the parity it brings to the league, right? And so I think that not tanking is one of the benefits I like about taking the draft. I don't think that is gonna. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're not changing the NHL anytime soon, so we don't really need to drill down too deep. But it's an interesting.
Well, we're gonna have a best on best soon, at least in a way, I guess. Potentially, we'll see.
Yeah,
We've heard this a lot from Gary Bettman, and I'll be intrigued to see what it is, what it's called.
how much longer does he have in the tank? You think?
I thought he announced like a decade ago he was only going to be like one more CBA.
Yeah.
And now he's done like 2 or 3 more CBAs. So
Does he actually age?
the question I have is, does the NHL just go to Bill Daly, or do they try something different? Do they try to set the NHL on a different path? Because Bill Daly, to me, it's just, he's Bettman's right-hand guy. I would think it's just you're going with kind of Bettman's style still moving forward in that way.
Well, it's like 6 of the owners that are going to decide this. So
In a way, it does take 2/3 vote. Despite Jeremy Jacobs, we know, does have a lot of pull.
Like you can't. The only thing that you're changing is outdoor games and maybe all-star formats. I think you need to do something else. You're getting too stagnant in your thinking of growing the game and doing so. You have to have a little bit more vision and look no further than the NBA to see what they're doing.
But Silver was David Stern's right-hand man.
Yeah.
And he just went this different way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is Bill Daly that guy that's going to do his own thing and go a different way and take the NHL in a different path, or is he going to just follow Gary Bettman's path that he's laid?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the same path. Yeah. I want to see something different.
Curling Canada just announced a player as the CEO just the last couple of days. Yeah, so they're doing something different with someone who's played it. I'd be intrigued if, like, can you have a player do that job?
Well, McDavid's picking coaches and GMs and presidents. Why don't we just make McDavid the president?
Can you do CBA negotiations? Or do you need that legal degree, or do you need that extra business expertise? I think you need that. I don't think you could just go to a player.
You can surround yourself with people that know that stuff. Yeah, I think that's...
Just put a lawyer beside you to talk for you.
If there's a player that you think that should then take over hockey as a commissioner.
Is this your segue from Chris Pronger?
I don't know if I wouldn't be Chris Pronger.
No, that's a good question.
I'm just trying. Like, who would be someone that you would want that would sit there and lead hockey in the right way?
Patrice Bergeron. Does that have to be a retired player?
I could be a current player, I guess. But if Gary Bettman says I'm going to retire in 2 years, and the NHL goes, who are we going to get? Well, we're going to go hire a former player. That's what we're going to zero in on. Wonder what former player that would be.
Markov makes everybody better.
Yeah. God, I can't really think of anyone right now that...
Like, who's highly respected.
Yeah.
And, that's why Bergeron came to mind.
It's not going to be George Peros.
Gosh, no.
No. George Larocque.
Surveyor Brett wants Gager.
Well, yeah.
Jenna Till says Linus Omark. Book it.
Yeah.
Like that one. I just
spin around.
Just trying to think who those... Like, it's like Brendan Shanahan. I will say with the Leafs was not as, there's question marks of how it's gone, but it's gone relatively well. But him at Department of Player Safety was unbelievable. He transformed Department of Player Safety. He put out those videos. People loved and started to respect what they were doing, and there weren't the question marks around it. And then he left, and Rob Blake carried on for a little bit, and then he left, and now George Peros has it, and we're back to thinking it's absolute trash. There would have been a guy that I would have thought a few years ago when he was at that position. He could have taken a commissioner's
I think
role.
that would help, knowing the kind of the how everything's run. Like, I would look at it, Yzerman, Sakic, that now that they have experience in the front office and seeing how that side of everything works, and knowing what they would like to see changed in the game, what changes they would like, I could see them doing it. Why not? They're running the team now.
Those were my 2 favorite players growing up, just straight up.
Great. And Joe
Both
Sakic.
19.
Joe Sakic is one of the best people on the planet.
Is he?
Oh my gosh! I remember as a kid going into a hockey shop and Nedved, who was a bit of a loser, he was trying to say, "Hey, look at me, I'm Peter Nedved," and Sakic walked in because he needed some tape or whatever. You wouldn't even know that he came in, and I was just like starstruck. And I go, "Hi, Mr. Sakic, can you sign my stick?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure," and no problem. And Nedved was being a jerk, and he bought his tape, said hi to everybody, and left. And it was just, he was just.
That makes me so happy.
Oh,
I
he's
just love Joe Sakic.
very-
It's one of the reasons I wanted the Avs to go win the cup, and I know that came at the cost of the Oilers, and people are mad, but I just wanted Joe Sakic to get that ring as a GM because of, like, he did it as a player who was unbelievable. The wrist shot was incredible.
The twisted wrister, just unreal.
And then he went in the front office and at a point looked like he was going to get fired, but built a great hockey team.
Were you on the ice with Joe?
Played against him, yeah. I remember he sent I forget who's.
How many top corners did he score on?
Oh, he didn't score.
But good for you.
He's not on the 1,000-player list.
Was I just talking about this to someone? How good NHL players are, the top guys. And I remember this was in the old rink in Colorado. He came down and he was on his backhand, and I knew guys were coming to the net on the far
you were
side.
talking about this on Two Guys and a Goalie.
Yeah, and he sent a backhand pass, just a missile that I was like, oh, okay.
Now we're in the NHL.
Yeah, right.
That's it for the EST Hangout for this Thursday. You're back at noon with Two Guys and a Goalie. You and Tommy will have that handled today. We haven't heard from Cass, so I think he's still battling.
I offered to get out there and give him mouth to mouth, but he said no.
And then you're going to get sick again.
I've had it. I'm good.
Okay, well, I'm just worried that you're going to get sick, and then you guys are going to just keep sharing it.
Hey, I was down.
Yes, you
I'm
were.
good now. I'm good now.
Dash, thanks for joining us. Oilers Live Wednesdays at 5 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk or wherever you get your podcast. And then Heavy Hockey Showdown, heavyhockey.com. More information where people can go register. And that's Feb 24th, 25th.
Thanks
For coming in. On behalf of Gager, Dash, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the EST Hangout. Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop. It is Huss and Jake from Cool Bet. They'll have you set for this Thursday night in sports with their best bets. And then, like I said, Two Guys with Gager and Tommy coming up at noon. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your Thursday.